Coming up on Coronation Street, Lisa challenges Costello, Tyrone shares a startling truth, and Betsy may finally learn her mother is alive. No. 1. Lisa goes after Costello. Lisa and Carla are still processing the bombshell that Lisa's supposedly deceased wife, Becky, never died at all, but has actually been living under witness protection in Alicante for the last 4 years. Becky's death was staged after her cover was blown during a covert police mission, with D.I. Costello passing off the corpse of an unrelated hit-and-run victim, Theo Wardley, as Becky to pull off the ruse. In last week's episodes, Becky stunned Lisa by suddenly appearing at the Swarla home during daughter Betsy's 18th birthday, convinced the threat had passed now that the gang boss had been taken out. It was unsafe for Becky to come back sooner, but her main goal has always been reuniting with her wife and child, explains Amy Cudden. Even though there wasn't a direct danger to their core family, she kept her distance. Now that Carla poses a real challenge, and Lisa has fallen deeply for her, Becky believes she has no choice but to step back in and fight for her family, even if it puts her at risk. Next week, Costello tracks Becky down and makes things crystal clear, warning that if she doesn't keep out of sight, both of them could easily end up locked away. Still furious, Lisa storms into the station determined to confront him, but Costello remains composed and stonewalls her. At the same time, Kit raises his worries to Carla, warning her that Costello isn't the person he pretends to be, and that Lisa may be getting in far too deep. Kit is left floored when Carla quietly confides that Becky never actually died, and that she has already returned. Over at the station, unwilling to accept silence as an answer, Lisa bursts back into Costello's office, demanding he reveal the full truth about Becky's fake death. When he once again refuses to meet her demands, Lisa raises the pressure, threatening to leak everything to the press if he doesn't start talking. What we've learned so far about Becky and Costello's history is only scratching the surface. The reality is far more tangled and hidden, Amy hints. It's going to be fascinating watching it unravel. Down Bruni is phenomenal and such a strong acting partner. He'll make the plot even knottier and deliver even more drama and chaos. No. 2. Could Betsy learn her mother is alive? Back at home, Carla urges Lisa to be honest with Betsy about Becky, stressing that the truth will eventually surface and the consequences will be far worse if they hide it. Lisa dismisses the suggestion outright, prompting Carla to take matters into her own hands by reintroducing Becky into the discussion. Overwhelmed by her feelings, Becky begs Lisa to allow her a moment with her daughter, but Lisa refuses, arguing she won't put Betsy through more pain. Seeing that Lisa won't change her mind, Carla reluctantly asks Becky to leave. Later on at the precinct, Becky notices Betsy deep in conversation with Ryan. Keeping to the shadows, she battles with the urge to step in. Will she throw caution aside and reveal herself? No. 3. Roy feels betrayed by Carla's dishonesty. Amid the whirlwind of last week's drama, it came to light that Roy was actually the very first person on the street to realize Becky was still alive. Stopping by number 6 on the morning of Betsy's birthday, Roy was rattled when he came across a family photograph of Lisa, Becky, and Betsy together for the first time. Straight away, he recognized Becky as the woman he had briefly encountered at the hospital just days earlier, when he had accidentally let a door swing shut in her path. Their meeting had been brief. Becky had quipped that her shoes helped her slip by unnoticed, but Roy's sharp memory meant her face was firmly lodged in his mind. Later, when he approached Carla to reveal that Becky was alive, unaware Becky had already resurfaced and was inside the house, he grew annoyed when Carla insisted he must be imagining things. Next week, when Roy steps into number 6 and finds Becky there, she hastily pretends to be one of Lisa's colleagues. But Roy isn't tricked for a moment. He identifies her as Becky Swain and reminds her of their hospital encounter. Once the secret is blown open, Lisa takes charge and tells him the full truth. Feeling wounded by Carla's lies, Roy makes it plain just how badly she has disappointed him before storming out. Trying to mend the damage, Lisa pleads with Roy on Carla's behalf, explaining the deceit was never intended to hurt him, only to protect herself and Betsy from more suffering. But the question remains, can Roy bring himself to forgive Carla? No. 4. Tyrone struggles with a long road ahead. At Weatherfield General, Tyrone is left coping with devastating injuries after last week's shocking hit and run. Betsy froze in horror as a car sped straight towards her at the precinct, only for it to swerve at the last second and plow into Tyrone instead. In the aftermath, Tyrone has been diagnosed with a serious spinal injury, and when he regains consciousness next week, he becomes distressed as he tells Fizz that he has no feeling in his legs. He waits until he's alone with Fizz in the hospital because she doesn't want to alarm anyone else, especially his daughters, Alan explains. Once he begins to process what's happening to him, why he can't move his legs, and the reality of his condition, he realizes he needs his family close. He's always been a true family man. But overall, there's this underlying fear and uncertainty about what the future holds and how life will look after the accident. He wants to stay strong for his loved ones, but that won't be easy. As doctors prepare him for surgery, Tyrone confides in his grandmother Evelyn, admitting he could be out of action for months and dreading the strain it may place on Fizz. I don't think he wants to add extra burdens onto her, Alan continues. Tyrone's heart is always in the right place, though sometimes his approach isn't. Instead of simply opening up to Fizz and sharing his feelings, he tries to protect her by keeping things to himself, when really, honesty would help the most. No. 5. Can Dylan clear his name? Elsewhere, the mystery of who was driving the stolen car that struck Tyrone remains unsolved, with Dylan and Brody still viewed as the main suspects. Earlier that day, the pair had taken the same vehicle while running errands for Carl, and George had even spotted Dylan at the wheel not long before the crash. Next week, Brody tells Kit that neither he nor Dylan could have committed the hit and run, revealing that he was suffering an epileptic fit at the time. Later, Brody explains to Carl that they had ditched the car before ever making it to the hospital, but Carl fires back, saying that when he turned up at the arranged drop-off point, the motor was already gone. Carl concludes that someone else must have taken the car and been the one who mowed Tyrone down. When PC Jess later questions Dylan at the station, he insists he was at the hospital with Brody during the incident. But can he actually prove his alibi? And if he's telling the truth, then who really was behind the wheel that day? Carl comes under scrutiny. Soon after, Kit makes it clear he has Carl in his sights, openly voicing his suspicions and warning that he'll be keeping a close eye on him. Not long after, Abby, having learned about Carl's stolen car scheme, shares her concerns that the vehicle which hit Tyrone could be tied to Carl's shady associate, Fiona. Carl dismisses her worries, but later sneaks off to the Chariot Square Hotel to meet Fiona, confessing that he's already scrapped the car to cover their tracks. Just as Carl convinces himself the danger is past, Kit follows through on his threat by showing up and bluntly questioning why he's meeting with a known offender. With Kit tightening the net, Carl begins to lose his composure. Are his secrets finally on the verge of being exposed? No. 7. Tracy turns up the pressure. Carl's troubles don't end with Kit, as Tracy keeps piling on demands for hush money to keep quiet about his fling with Abby. She revels in reminding Carl that her next payout is due, warning that if he doesn't deliver, she'll make sure Kevin learns the truth about the affair. A few days later, Tracy pushes things further, telling Abby she's tired of being strung along with partial payments and now wants the full sum handed over at once. Abby passes the message on to Carl, who angrily retorts that he'll give her £500 and that will be the last of it. But Tracy refuses to yield, coolly pointing out that she's the one holding all the cards. Abby advises that it might be wiser to confess to Kevin and stop letting Tracy call the shots, but Carl flatly rejects the idea. Instead, he urges Abby to hold her ground and dare Tracy to follow through. As the situation spirals, Tracy is left reeling when she later finds the flower shop wrecked by a masked vandal. Could this be Carl's way of silencing her once and for all? Note to raid, Theo's new start quickly unravels. Next week, Todd and Theo are thrilled to finally have a place of their own as they settle into the corner shop flat. It's a milestone that means a lot to Theo, whose obsessive jealousy over Todd's friendships has already led to violent outbursts. But their fresh start is quickly disrupted when former flatmate George pops round with housewarming beers. Todd welcomes him in for a drink, while Theo simmers with resentment. Later in the week, Theo confides in Todd that his upcoming custody battle for his children is weighing heavily on him. He admits he's anxious that Danielle could use the state of the flat as evidence it isn't suitable for the kids. Taking in the room around him, Theo's insecurities deepen when he watches Todd warmly embrace his ex, Billy. Coronation Street airs Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. on ITV1 with episodes available on ITVX and YouTube.